Y'all bear with me. I don't know what happened, but how about now? You should have audio now. That well, that kind of breaks my whole routine. I'm 99% certain that the I'm 99% certain that the audio's back on. I need one of you guys to confirm it for me. Steve says okay. I'm going to take that as okay. Okay, there we go. That means I have a wholly different problem that I have to address, and that can wait till after the show because live is hard mode. Okay. Uh, Broken sounds, good sounds. Yep. Okay. Okay. 5 by 5. We're back in business. Oh, government shutdown. Everybody's hair's on fire. Oh, they're going to shut down the government. And the Democrats are basically holding veterans' benefits hostage uh, in order to try and get some funding for illegal immigrants to use the emergency rooms. That's the broad strokes. Okay. Let me clear some stuff up for you guys. The the budget fight right now is over yet another continuing resolution because they just won't they just won't do a damn budget, right? Frankly, every time a continuing resolution is proposed, we need to fire the entire government. Because at the end of the day, the legislature, that is their job. That is the job, right? It's like you may be the fastest bastard chopping out the mise en place, uh, and getting all your onions and carrots and celery ready. Okay, great, good for you. But you don't know how to fry a piece of chicken. I'm sorry, you can't work in the kitchen. Go home. If you can't handle the basic job, you don't belong here. Go away. You're fired. Patrick asks, when was the last time? Uh, and I actually don't remember off the top of my head. Let's ask ChatGPT. When was the last full budget passed by the Congress? Oh, I think it's been more than 20 years, Patrick. But let me go ahead and clear you guys up real quick before anybody panics too hard. Uh, your your veterans disability benefits, those aren't going anywhere. Those are set obligations, just like any of the welfare stuff. That's another thing. Welfare benefits aren't going. They're gonna pay They're gonna pay all the bums and broodmares, right? Right. If there's one thing you can rely on the Democrat for, it's to steal your money at gunpoint and give it to people who don't deserve it. Right. So they're gonna make sure that their voters get the money. Uh, the last time Congress passed a full set of appropriations bills on time, i.e., before the start of the fiscal year on October 1st, was fiscal year 1997, uh, during Clinton's presidency. Mario, welcome, son of a bitch. Okay, Mario's with us now, and I'm about to have to reset. So I'll be
Oh,
right back.
did I do that? Oh, well, okay. So what are we talking about today? Another government shutdown? Well, it really hasn't been at the top of the news cycle, has it? Not really. Not the top of your feed on whatever news aggregator you're going for. Do you know why? Because people don't really care anymore. Okay. Um, that's kind of the way I see it here. Larry's a little more researched on this topic, so I guess when he comes back, he'll
Well,
provide details why I should care. So,
Um, so the last time we passed a budget was 1997, or well, it was 1996 for fiscal year 27. So yeah, the that means that almost our entire military, almost the entirety of our military enlisted or was commissioned after the last time we passed a budget.
When was
Almost,
last?
because you get your holdouts like the sergeant major or Captain Romano who stay in there for 2 full careers. But the vast majority of our military has been completely replaced since the last time we passed a budget.
When
But
was
your
that? What was that?
disability check's still going to come in. We're still
Was
going
that
to pay the bums and broodmares.
What was that? Newt Gingrich? Is that the last time we had a budget pass?
Yeah, Gingrich and Biden or Clinton was in office. Biden was also in office, but he was a senator at the time. And Alex, I see your mic check comment. We're having some other issue. This is the microphone that's working this morning. For some reason, I wasn't getting audio through my mixing board this morning, and so gonna have to figure that out later. Anyway, so government shutdown looms, and frankly, I'm all here for it. Especially since there is something a little bit different this time around. There's the Donald has actually said, hey, when we shut down the government, I want y'all to fire some people. Y'all need to start laying off government officials.
Sergeant Major, Sergeant Major, are you saying by CR do you mean continuing resolution? What do you mean by that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, the United States government is in a fiscal death spiral at this point. Okay, we're essentially spending $1 trillion every 3 months to keep this operation running. I don't. They got one of two options. Okay, massive spending cuts. Okay, which are going to affect the United States economy, like taking away a heroin addict's methadone card. Okay, or you can basically just say to hell with it. We don't care anymore about any fiscal prudence. We don't care about debt ceilings. All right. We're just going to dissolve the entire concept of that. And we're just going to run the economy with fiat currency, however much we need until the bottom falls out and no one buys our treasury bonds anymore. Okay. So those are your two real options. Okay. Honest options. One, put a stop to the spending immediately. Get us within something sustainable, something that the tax revenue, something that the tax revenues could afford, okay, or
Right.
pay for, or just say to hell with it and run that printer till the machine burns up.
Well, okay, so Alex says the Senate will pass the CR. Democrats don't want this penned on them. Don't underestimate the. I generally agree, Alex. I suspect they will get the CR passed today. But there's a couple things to point out there. While we only have narrow control of the Senate, we do in fact have narrow control. So they can't completely block it without a little bit of assistance. Now, it requires more. The CR requires a little more than a simple majority, but it's a little more complex than that. But more importantly, you can never underestimate the will of the Democrat to cause harm to the American people. That is their core principle: is destruction. Right? The Democrat never wants anything unless it comes with the additional benefit of causing harm to someone he hates. Right? The Democrats they do not want to help anyone unless they can do it by hurting someone. It is always that simple. If a Democrat sees something that is good or beautiful, he seeks to destroy it. They are spiteful, hateful, evil people. Um, and it really is that simple. Xander points out Republicans need 8 Democrats in the Senate. Yes, they do, but that's assuming that all the Republicans get on board, and we're not guaranteed they're 100% yet either. Now, again, I suspect it will get passed, but we want to talk about the rhetoric around this for a minute, and so let me get y'all. Let me get this presentation loaded.
Presentation? You can't do presentations on Tuesday.
I can do presentations whatever the hell I want.
Are you sure?
Government shutdowns, welfare expansion, and counterclaims. Okay, so thing one, the shutdowns that we've seen in our history, right? Reagan's the first one. You know, we're going back 40 years for this one, and it happened before Reagan, but I'm starting with Reagan for a particular reason. For one, he was the president when I was born, right? For two, this shutdown occurred over about a dispute over funding for the Contras in Nicaragua and welfare cuts. So right there, you got the Contras in Nicaragua. So that was one issue, but also over welfare cuts. The Democrats were holding up funding the government. They were holding the government hostage to try and get more free money for the bums and the broodmares, right? Then you get to Bush, right? George H.W. Did I just skip one?
No, that's Bush. That's Bush the Lesser, or no, that's Bush the Greater, the arch lich king of the CIA.
Yes. So Bush stemmed over deficit reduction, taxes, and spending priorities. The Democrats tried to hold the country hostage again over preventing cuts to Medicare, to various welfare programs, to several welfare programs. Then you pop forward to Clinton. Budget standoff between Clinton and Newt Gingrich over spending cuts. Gingrich, famously had the only surplus that we've seen in living memory under his tenure as the speaker, right? And again, under Clinton, longest shutdown of the 90s centered on disagreements over what? Medicare, education, environment, and public health funding. Oh,
that was the first one I remember, by the way. That's the first one I remember.
Yep. They shut the government down so they could get free money for the bums. Obama. Over the Affordable Care Act, the Democrats held out and shut the government down over free money for the bums. It's every time. Disagreement over immigration policy and protection for dreamers under DACA. So under Trump, we see a slight deviation. This time, the Democrats shut the government down to try and keep more hostile foreign invaders in the country so that they would have, survey says, more illegal voters and bums to give our fucking stolen money to. They did it again under Trump. Longest shutdown in U.S. history, 35 days over border wall funding between Trump and Democrats. They shut the government down to try and maintain keeping the borders open. This is what the Democrat does. He seeks to cause harm to the country. Today's debate, the Democrats are holding veterans hostage. And this is almost hilarious to me. Here's the thing. If you're a disabled veteran, you get a check from the VA, or you use the VA healthcare services like I do, you're still going to get your check. You can still go to the VA for healthcare. Nothing. Shutting down the government, that is funded, whether the government shuts down or not. You're still going to get your check. You're still going to get to go see the doctor. You're okay. But the Democrats are saying that the Republicans are threatening veterans benefits because they're desperate to get the veterans on board as a voting bloc, because we have been a strong conservative voting bloc for a long time, right? And I suspect we will continue to be. But that's why there's the fact that veterans tend to vote Republican tend to be more conservative because we love our country and our children, and we don't hate our country and our children like a Democrat does. Uh, they're desperate to get re- Republican voting veterans switched over, and that's why they're pushing so hard for the trainees in combat and in, well, not in combat, just in the service. They want you spending your money on needless, dangerous shit. um, Sergeant Major says every shutdown costs more than staying open because we pay penalties for breach of contract. Absolutely. Right. And then the current fight centers on healthcare for illegal immigrants. And you're gonna hear over and over again, and we're gonna hit a TikTok, or I'm sorry, an X video in a minute and look at the community notes. You're gonna hear over and over again, oh no, that's not what's happening because it's illegal for immigrants to get healthcare from the government.
Can I can I ask a question here?
Please do.
Why are there welfare expansions? I don't recall any. Why are there proposed welfare expansions? I don't recall any like debates on this or any bills recently.
That's right. You don't.
Or is this part of the government's just? Is it part of a incremental increase that's like baked into the cake here? Is that what we're talking about?
That's part of it.
Or is there
more
actually
importantly, Mario,
to expand welfare?
The one big beautiful bill made some substantial cuts to welfare, especially where hostile foreign aliens receiving health care is concerned.
That's just common sense. Yes.
And so one of the things that they're holding out for is they're trying to restore the health insurance to the hostile foreign aliens.
Gotcha. So this is about backdooring the big beautiful bill essentially, and basically we lost the battle. So now I'm gonna hop into my my legislative fiscal time machine, and we can go back and we can create scenarios where we win after the fact. Okay, got it.
Yeah, they basically got a kamikaze TARDIS that they're looking to crash into the
kamikaze TARDIS.
Yeah, they take their kamikaze TARDIS and try and crash it into the fiscal plane of responsibility. Yep. Total destruction.
Okay.
And one of the claims that the Democrats keep trying to make, oh no, this bullshit. Illegals can't get health care. It's illegal for illegal aliens to get health care. Yeah, except here's what's actually happening. This is largely a problem with California. Yeah. Hostile foreign invaders can enter an emergency room in the state of California. They'll get taken care of. Now, nationally, this is the case. But it's a huge problem in California where they explicitly make it lawful in the state of California for California's Medicare system, which is called Medi-Cal, to cover these hostile foreign invaders when they enter the emergency room. And then the Medi-Cal expenses are billed to federal Medicaid. On the federal Medicaid level, that gets reported as just Medicaid medical billing, right? It doesn't get reported in the breakdown from Medi-Cal, which is paying for the illegal immigrants. And that's where the fight's happening, and that's where the lie is, right? So it cannot be understated. I cannot say this to you guys enough. The national debt has tracked almost dollar for dollar with the cost of the welfare state since its inception under LBJ and the Great Society. The point where this changed, we hit a tipping point when Obama, in his administration, tripled the then national debt.
Yep.
From just under $8 trillion total to just over $22 trillion. Under Obama, we tripled the national debt and hit a tipping point on interest that increased the rate of growth of the debt, which now costs us more than funding our military. And that is largely, we've heard a lot of Democrats say, well, Donald Trump increased the debt too. Not really. Now, look, don't get me wrong. Trump has spent some damn money, and especially under COVID, I was not happy about the whole COVID stimulus maneuver Um, but let's not pretend like the Democrats opposed that and tried to slow it down at all either, right? That was somebody whispering in the ear, and Donald Trump taking some bad advice. Which, as much as I love the president, he has made some mistakes, and this was one of them. But the real factor there is that the interest on the debt, which Obama tripled, has become a problem. It has outpaced our ability to spend it down.
Yep. You're
So,
talking about you're talking about the so if you look at a pie chart of the U.S. government's budget, right? The biggest carve out is going to be for like welfare services, benefits, okay, things like that. That's over 25% of the budget, and then you have the next biggest one historically has been the military, okay, and then third after that was the interest on the debt. So we have a situation where the interest on the debt has now outpaced military spending,
yep,
or is that yeah?
that's
So
correct. Oh, and yeah, this is a little bit off topic, but a number that we've been seeing a lot lately. The Dems are saying, you talk about foreign aid money and assistance to foreign countries, but that's only like 1.2% of the national budget. Uh, oh, does that number include our military spending on subsidizing the national security of every country on the planet? Does that include us funding the UN and NATO? Does that include? No, it doesn't. It's when you break down what we're actually spending on keeping socialism alive all over the world through subsidizing foreign entities, it's nearly a quarter. It's just over a quarter of our actual budget. A lot of it comes from our military spending. But they don't want to talk about that shit.
and a lot of that spending is in a not so subtle way to keep everyone using the United States dollar as the foreign currency of choice.
Yep.
So it's
So yeah, LBJ gave us
who's blackmailing who.
LBJ gave us the problem, right? And I chose this image of him holding his dog off the ground by its ears to remind you that LBJ was a monster.
Yeah, he may or may not have had foreknowledge of what happened to his president as well. So, Great Society launched. Are you there, Chris? Great Society launched trajectory of massive welfare spending. Yeah, it was. That was was it 1968 or 65?
65.
65. 65. Yeah, that was the year we really opened the. 1965 was the year that we opened the portal to hell. Okay, with the Great Society program plus the 1965 Hart-Celler Immigration Act, that was the coup essentially against the United States government, and nothing has been right since then. You had basically the value of our currency being dismantled, okay, and degraded, currency debasement, and the value of our people themselves, our our genetic hygiene, if you will, okay, corrupted ever since the passage of that bill. So, and we were increasing our purview of Vietnam at the time as well. So I don't know. Did we had hostilities in Vietnam kicked off by 1965? I should know that.
Uh, yes.
Uh,
It may have been 60. I'm not sure.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I want to talk about these
no.
figures for a minute. So welfare programs projected at 1.2 trillion in 2025, and the interest on the debt annually surpassing defense, 1.1 trillion dollars, right? 1.1 trillion, $1 trillion, right? Let me put that in perspective for you, okay? 1 million. If a dollar is a minute, $1 million is 2 years ago. $1 billion is 1900 years ago. $1 trillion is before the earliest ancestors of humanity, Homo habilis, were walking the earth. 2 billion years ago. I'm sorry, 2 million years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we put it in those terms because the once you get to numbers like once you get into numbers like trillions of dollars, you're talking about numbers that
Yeah, like I said.
even your wealthy citizens do not have a functional economic frame of reference for. It's very difficult for a person to understand the magnitude
Correct.
of $1 trillion.
And that's why I was saying at the beginning, we're in a fiscal doom loop. Okay, you can't stop it. Okay, we are trapped. We are trapped in the belly of this terrible machine, and the machine is bleeding to death. Okay, so kill the beast through its own kill the beast through its own outlet through whatever. Just spend the money. It doesn't matter at this point. No one will ever pay $35 trillion. Okay, we're the U.S. dollar is going to die. Okay, within our lifetime, probably within the next 10 years as a reserve currency. Nothing can be done to stop it. So you might as well. That was my. That's why I reluctantly supported the big beautiful bill, because I understood that this train can't be stopped at this point. So you might as well do the most good you can for the maximum number of citizens, while people still care about our currency. Okay, while people still care about the U.S. dollar, because it's coming to an end. It's a fiscal doom loop at this point. And I don't get involved in economics, which is why I don't sound so smart on this. But that's how I feel about it.
Well, before we get on to the rest of the slideshow, I've got a couple of articles and a video clip that I want to deal with real quick. Mario, what's your hard out time this morning?
8:30, I guess. Hard.
Okay. If you've got the time, I want to get into this a little bit deeper. So here's an article from the New York Times explaining the GOP's misleading talking points on the looming shutdown. It says Republicans have been falsely asserting that Democrats are shutting down the government to fund free health care for unauthorized immigrants. With Congress at an impasse over federal spending, Republicans have emerged with a new and misleading talking point. Democrats are shutting down the government to fund free health care for unauthorized immigrants. Okay. Let's deal with that real quick. Come on, Tab. I'm gonna
the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut that government down. We have disagreements about healthcare policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it. If you look at what Chuck Schumer has said in the past consistently, it's whatever our disagreements are, let's negotiate with them. Let's talk about them. Let's figure out a bipartisan solution, but you don't shut the government down. In other words, you don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what the House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government. That's exactly what they're proposing out there. Now, we have to remember, they're very frustrated. They say that they're very frustrated about the fact that this negotiation has not taken place until today. But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation.
All right. Now, Gavin Newsom shared this.
Said that's blatantly false. So who's telling the truth here?
He says, yeah, Gavin Newsom says, blatantly false, you dipshit. To which I replied with a link to this show and the words, I'll be calling you a liar live on air in 5 minutes, dipshit. So hopefully you're watching, Gavin, and if you are, but good luck. As far as him calling it blatantly false, let's go to this article from, I can't see the date here. Where's the date? Okay, yeah, this is from 2 years ago. California becomes first state to offer health insurance to all undocumented immigrants. Oh, Gavin, it looks like it's not a lie. In 2025, undocumented children were able to join Medi-Cal under a bill signed by then Governor Jerry Brown. In 2019, Gavin Newsom signed into law an expansion of full-scope Medi-Cal access for young adults, aged 19 through 25, regardless of citizenship or immigration status. Access was then further expanded to allow older adults aged 50 and older to receive full benefits. And the final expansion going into effect January 1st, that would be January 1st, 2024, will make approximately 700,000 undocumented residents between 26 and 49 eligible for full coverage as well. And then what happens? This is for this year's fiscal budget, right? California is spending $9.5 billion on healthcare for undocumented immigrants this year. That is for the budget that is ending currently, right? The budget that just ran from last October until tomorrow, California was set to spend $9.5 billion. And that is, as it turns out, not a great figure, because as it turns out, they actually spent more than that. So, and then as a result, California closes $12 billion deficit by cutting back immigrants' access to health care. The plan was so bad that they had to cut back the illegal immigrant health care because they overspent so hard on it that they had to try and close a $12 billion deficit, not the 7 they originally proposed, 9.5 they amended it to, but no, 12 billion that they came through. So California exploiting Medicaid loophole to pay bills for illegal immigrants. This is from Fox News from a few days ago. California is funneling billions of federal taxpayer dollars into paying for illegal immigrants' health care. They're exploiting an existing loophole within law. Paul Winfrey, president and CEO of the Economic Policy Innovation Center, told Fox News Digital. States can do these provider taxes to funnel money back to the state. They are then using to put illegal immigrants on Medicaid. That's quite literally what they're doing. Like I was saying, basically, they fund the illegals getting health care through their state taxes, and then it's the state equivalent of writing it off on your tax bill. They're basically getting their subsidization by then forwarding that bill onto the federal Medicaid books, right?
Yep.
So, Gavin, where's the lie? Because it looks to me like Gavin and Newsom, you are in fact the liar, sir. So let's get back to this person. Okay, go ahead, Mario.
California. So it appears that California actually has a national health service, basically a single-payer healthcare system, yet somehow manages to make it even less cost-effective and efficient than the United Kingdom's national health service. I've said for a long time now, California is a two-tier society. It is in the formation of a two-tier society. Okay, where there are the liberal elite on top. Okay, well paid, okay, rich, affluent, connections to Silicon Valley, which is basically the beating heart of California, and then you have chattel class, all right, effectively slaves, whose only job is to basically serve as vote farms to maintain the system, okay, and if you're a U.S. citizen and a resident of California, and you pay your hospital bills, you're the sucker at this point. Like you're the rube. So,
oh yeah, and even more to the point, at the broader tax implication level, the way it works in California, similar to almost like nationally, if you're in the bottom, basically if you make less than 6 figures, if you're in the bottom about 55% of income earners, you essentially pay no income tax, right? State or federal. If you're in the top 45% of income earners, you're paying a quarter or more. And most of that is actually in state income tax to the state of California. But then you get to write off the bulk of that against your federal income taxes. And so the result is that the rest of the country, with the exception of New York, basically the bluer your main cities and the higher your main city incomes are, the more the rest of us are subsidizing you.
California is like New York, where some metropolitan areas even have their own like city income tax. Okay, so you're getting triple dipped. Okay, before you get paid.
You're getting triple dipped before you get paid, and part of that triple dip, and then once you get paid, that's being subsidized by everybody else in the country. It's an absolute sham, an absolute freaking Ponzi scheme. So let's get to the arguments that the left makes for healthcare. Right? They make three primary claims. Healthcare is a human right. Okay, that's bullshit. We'll get to that in a minute. Economic claim, access reduces ER costs and boosts productivity. Bullshit. We'll get to that in a minute. Expansions can be fiscally responsible. Also bullshit. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Mario.
Let's just look at the historical precedent of that. If expansions could be fiscally responsible, surely since it's been 1965, so it's been 60 years. We just haven't figured it out in 60 years, but it's possible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this ain't hard. Point to me a Democrat city. Point me to a Democrat city. Show me the list of promises that Democrats have made, and show me how many of those problems they've solved. That should be all you need to know.
Agreed.
Now, in fairness, that there is a world where that logic can tiptoe a little bit into the real communism has never been tried area, insofar as, in part, what I've just said is Republicans could have done a better job, but we'll never know because they never got a chance to try. But the evidence, it's kind of the other side of the same argument. It's Democrats have been trying it their way for decades, and they failed miserably. So we may not know for certain that a Republican would have done better, but it's hard to argue that he would have done worse. Right? So the moral claim.
Republicans would have done less bad, okay? Which is unfortunately for a lot of the Republican Party, it's just a matter of preserving the victories that the Democrats previously achieved, okay, without giving them new victories. So
correct.
The Republicans could have made it less bad, okay, but that's about it.
So the first claim, the moral claim, no. Rights do not equal mandated provisions, right? I have a right to food. I have a right to eat. That doesn't mean somebody else has to pay for my food. I have a right to live in a comfortable home if I can afford one, and I do, right? I have a right to keep and bear arms. That does not equal an obligation for the state, or more correctly, when we say the state, we imply you personally being forced at gunpoint to buy my ammunition supply and provide me with a place to practice my marksmanship, right? Healthcare is no different. In order for healthcare to be free, there Tanstaffel, baby. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch, right? Go read Moves of Harsh Mistress. By the way, I am working on adding a page to the website with a reading list. But Tanstaffel, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody has to pay, right? Unless what you're going to do is just put leg shackles on the doctors and force them to work. I mean, literally debt slavers. Like, oh hey, you amassed almost $1 million in debt for your 8 years of college to become a medical doctor, and now you are an indentured tax slave.
That would be debt slavery. That would be an H-1B doctor. Okay, don't give him good ideas, Chris.
No shit. So yeah, I mean, But even without that, you're the only way you can fund the so-called free healthcare is through massive taxes on the people. How do we know that? Because we've seen it in other countries and here. And let's not forget, back in 2012, I think it was when we got the bombshell. Obama's boy Gruber was caught on camera explaining the Affordable Care and Patient Protection Act was designed intentionally from the ground up to fail because it is a legislative and policy maneuver intended for the explicit purpose of causing the health insurance business, the health insurance industry to collapse and to force the American people to accept total single payer socialized medicine.
I remember that video. That was like that was 2010, right? Late 2010. And I remember Glenn Beck basically having an aneurysm live on TV.
Yeah. I mean, you caught him saying the quiet part out loud. And here's the thing that I want you guys to understand.
He also called the American people suckers, basically. Like yeah.
And
Gruber.
And
Gruber the goober.
The facts are these, right? Look at the outcomes, look at the pattern of behavior. That is the baseline for all Democrat policy proposals. Everything the Democrat proposes is we seek to create a problem in order to coerce public opinion to support nationally destructive policy decisions. And every policy maneuver that we're going to make is made to cause another problem whose solution is we want to take more of your money, more of your liberty, more of your prosperity, and your children.
That is correct. That is the basic playbook for manipulation of the population. Okay, is the problem, reaction, solution paradigm, where it's
never let crisis go to waste.
Yeah, there is a problem. Okay, there is a problem, and there is a public desire for something to be done to address the problem. Then, so the people react, and then the government provides a solution to a problem that was usually created by government. So that is the standard operating procedure for not just the Democrats, but for the government in general since 1965.
And so, yeah, rights cannot demand forced service from others. Oh, excuse me. We got a deep dive coming on this one in the next sometime in the near future. I'm not sure when that one's going to hit the schedule, but y'all, people need to understand what rights are, and that is a complex philosophical topic. Rights do not exist without government, but rights do not come from government, right? But at the end of the day, what a right is, it as a part of the social contract, we agree that if there must be a government, then that government must not be allowed to engage in certain restrictive behaviors. Law is prohibitive. Just law is always prohibitive. Any law which is prescriptive, as in requires of a citizen an affirmative action for compliance, rather than restricts a citizen from taking undesirable actions on which we have agreed, any law that operates incorrectly in that format is an unjust, unlawful law. If you're required to, say, for example, purchase health insurance in order to avoid being punished, then that's bullshit. Yeah. Rights are things that you can do normally and naturally in the course of your regular life, which the government cannot prevent you from doing justly. That does not entail an obligation of other persons to facilitate or provide for your right. It only means that the government is required to prevent them from interfering with it. Now, Mario, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So what Chris is saying there is that rights exist. Okay, rights are given by God. Okay, they are your God-given human rights. Okay, they come from a transcendent force. Okay, so rights exist. The purpose of government is to defend those rights, is to defend those individual rights. Okay, to defend those human rights. That's the way that's the way it's supposed to be in the United States. But understand, like that's not a universal thing. Okay, in fact, the United States is one of maybe only several countries where the concept of rights exist in that framework. Okay, for much of the world, rights are explicitly things that are granted to you by the government. Okay, so that's not a universal concept, just so you understand.
Yeah, maybe that'll be this weekend's deep dive. We'll talk about it after the show a little bit.
Sergeant Major says might makes right.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. In the end, when a system collapses, it always that is the baseline. Okay, everything eventually returns to that. Okay, after entropy has collapsed whatever system, whatever framework you have.
Well, and it's the reason that there's no such thing as anarchy. As soon as you have no functioning, official, established government, then the government is do it or I'll eat you. The world is not complex in that regard. So, the economic case, they argue that migration. They argue that that spending on healthcare is going to have a positive impact on the economic environment. But no. Migration has introduced greater disease risks under the flood of millions and millions of hostile foreign invaders under the Biden administration, and Obama for that matter. We saw increases in we saw tuberculosis, even leprosy, pop up in the United States. Diseases that have been wiped out previously, right? That these are people coming from third world shitholes and bringing their filth with them.
Yeah, for example, why the fuck do we have measles again in Texas? Okay, why is there tuberculosis in Florida?
God, and I just love these shitbirds, right? We saw them all over X. Oh my God, there's a measles outbreak in Texas. RFK Jr. must resign because he's against vaccines, and that's why measles. What? At the point that guys, at the point that we first saw the measles outbreak in Texas, RFK Jr. had not even moved into his office, let alone started banning all the vaccines, which again he has not done and has made very clear he does not intend to do. He's arguing that there are ingredients in the vaccines currently that are unhealthy and those need to be dealt with. But the fact is that measles came into this country from shithole third world countries that don't have access to good medicine. And let's be very clear on that. It is not that they lack access to good medicine because we're not doing our fair share to sacrifice ourselves in a suicidal attempt to extend our largesse to every useless piece of trash outside of the United States of America. It is that we keep spending billions upon billions of dollars to extend that foreign aid to these shithole third world wastelands. And when it arrives, the local warlord / dictator confiscates it and retains it for his own use, either selling it back on the black market or, like in North Korea, where we send literally millions of pounds of rice per year to subsidize their starving population, which is starving because Kim Jong-il put seawater on the fucking rice paddies in the mid-90s. We send them millions in food aid, millions of pounds, billions of dollars in food aid. They get it in crates, and they relabel the crates so that when they distribute it to the people, it says product of DPRK.
Yep, that's right. Or the other situation is where if it's not, if corruption and grift doesn't misallocate the funding, all right, then you have also the problem where the society itself simply cannot maintain that which you are giving it, like basically building wells in Africa. Okay, great. Now the village, the town, whatever, they have a clean source of water, but it only lasts as long as some individual in the community decides that, I want to get drunk, so I'm just going to tear apart the pump and go sell it for scrap metal so I can get drunk on cheap gin. So you
Yeah,
have that problem as well.
you can't save them with money. You just can't. You can't save them with largesse, with charity, with altruism. They're a bottomless pit.
When you say ER misuse is due to a lack of knowledge, not lack of funding, I'm not sure about that. I think they understand perfectly well how it works. You go to the ER, okay, you get free health care, and you don't pay. That's it.
Well, so here's the point I'm making here. One of the arguments they're making is that if we fund healthcare better, then illegal aliens will stop using the ER. And my point here is no. that just there's no support for that. They go to the ER because it's free, but in part also because they don't know any different, right? There are already free clinics all over the place, right? Any town you might go to that's within spitting distance of a major metropolitan area, guaranteed they've got at least one free clinic in town that's run by a church or some charity organization. You'd be hard pressed not to find one. And if you can't find one, look for the big Planned Parenthood sign, because they just love you trash bags, and they'll be happy to point you to a semi-legitimate cheap doctor, right? That said, a lot of that advertising is done in English, and the ER is just an easier way because the hospital is hard. It's hard to miss, right? There are signs all over the place telling you how to get to the ER. Now, it's also what Mario just said is also true. The illegals understand that if they go to the ER, they get free cover, they get free treatment, and that's not going to change just by saying we've allocated funds for you to get treated at regular doctor's offices for non-emergency care, right? And that's without even getting into the whole thing where you've got inner city, ne'er-do-wells and scofflaws and mountebanks calling the ambulance because if they call and say they've got chest pain, it amounts to a free Uber to the hospital nearest the doodah bus.
Imagine a system where if you're an illegal immigrant, okay, and you go to an ER, they'll patch you up, as is I suppose their duty, okay. But then you get immediately reported to ICE, and then after you got patched up, there'll be an ICE agent waiting to take you home. That would be an ideal situation, I'd say.
You know what? I'd pay for that. So, fiscal fallacy: citizens pay involuntarily. Diverting to illegals is fraud. Welfare spending tracks debt growth nearly dollar for dollar. Interest now 1.1 trillion, surpassing defense. Expansions betray the social contract. That we pay our taxes under duress as part of the social contract, and we have an expectation, a legitimate expectation based on the social contract, that in exchange for the taxes, which we pay under duress, at gunpoint, under threat of death, we are expected to receive good roads, police to secure our internal national security, military to secure our national security against domestic intrusion by hostile foreign invaders. A whole host of things that we expect the state to do.
And courts that will defend our rights.
And courts that will defend our rights. Many of these things we do not have. Many of these things have been depleted to an absolutely staggering degree. Quite simply, as the American taxpayers, we have been defrauded.
100%.
And the Democrat Party, the party of money laundering, the party of baby murdering, seeks to defraud us further. So the left's claim healthcare is a right, more access lowers costs and raises productivity. Expansions can be fiscal responsible. Bullshit. Our rebuttal. Rights do not equal forced provision. ER misuse won't vanish with funding. Disease risks rise. You're essentially subsidizing measles. And the welfare state is tied directly to debt expansions. This is a betrayal of the citizens. Go ahead and bring the cameras back up, Mario. I've got a couple of funny stories I'd like to tell related to this topic.
I only got a few minutes, but go ahead.
Well, damn. Now I don't remember I don't remember the story.
You had a funny story.
I had a funny story.
Well, don't you have just a quiver with like reserve funny stories?
I do, but I had one specifically. I had one on tap that I wanted to do specifically. Oh, that's it. That's it. Remember the Obamacare shutdown?
Yes.
There was an Obamacare shutdown. It didn't even include it here. I only included the one in 2013. There was one in 2010, in October 2010. There was an Obama. Obama had a government shutdown, 2010, October. You know how I remember that one?
Something in the military.
Because I was deployed to Afghanistan when I got the news that I wasn't getting paid that month.
Well,
and so I refused to kill terrorists until I got a paycheck. I sat down in my tent and watched Boston Legal, and every time anybody came to say, "Hey, Lowry, we need to XYZ," I'd say, "That's great, and I'd love to. In fact, I enjoy killing terrorists."
Did that actually happen though?
I don't do this shit for free.
I don't recall not getting paid. Did we not get paid? I don't remember.
Our pay got delayed by about a week and a half.
Okay.
It was enough to piss me off.
Got it.
I mean, guys, imagine you're deployed. You're in a war zone, and you get on the phone with your wife on Skype, and she says, "Hey, baby, I need to pay the rent, and we didn't get any money." I'm sorry. I'm killing who for what? That's a thing that happened.
Yep. Let's do a.
That was a thing that happened. But so, I know Mario's got to get out of here and get to work. So we'll go ahead and put a pen in it right there, unless you've got something else you wanna hit, Mario.
I propose if the government is shut down, if the government gets shut down and the military doesn't get paid, then Israel is immediately required as a stopgap measure to make up that payment.
You know, we hear a lot about our national debt. What about the countries that owe us money?
What?
What about the countries that owe us money? You know, all of them.
I mean, to be fair, that's part of the contract. It's use the dollar. If you use the dollar, we will be a guarantor of the world order. Okay, it's like basically the deal we made with the petrodollar with the Saudi Arabians. Okay, we've managed in the course of the last 30 years to expand that essentially to all countries involved using the SWIFT payment system. Okay, that's the deal. It's snake eating its tail. So, and there's no way out. It's going to crash. Okay, prepare accordingly. You did the right thing. You have real estate. Okay, you did the right thing. That's basically that's the foundation of survival. Honestly, after the collapse of the U.S. dollar, which is imminent.
Yeah, I got to get you up here to walk in the woods with me sometime, Mario. We got to do that in the not too distant, brother. But I know you got to get going, so let's go ahead and put a pen in it right there. Thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Ciao. shows
You know, for real, brother, I appreciate the shit out of having you around for the show.
Yeah.
This is not what I expected when we met at DLI 20 years ago.
I know.